RealEducation, 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 the real side chain, the real side butter chain. Beautiful.
Okay, so did you have another experience, Eric?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Okay, so in this experience, I was just chilling in my room. Probably thinking of getting 100 Burger King nuggets later, or maybe playing some new Fortnite strat for Salty Springs. But then I heard this knock on my door. I was confused, man, because nobody ever comes over except, I wish Phil would, but he hasn't really talked to me lately. So anyways, I opened it up, and dude, it was Jerma. I was like, yo, Jerma, what's up, bro? And he just grinned that big grin he's got. He said something like, ready for a real side adventure, Eric? Or something like that. I was kind of thrown off. Because, usually it's like Rebazar or Bubby at my door. Jerma's pretty uncommon. But, I thought it was cool, because it's Jerma. He told me that he was going to take me for a walk. Which I thought was kind of random, I was like, alright, dude, let's do it. We headed outside. And the air just felt like different. Like it usually does in the real side. Everything was super crisp. Almost like too bright. Like someone cranked up the graphic settings to max. We walked for a bit. He was talking about stuff that honestly just kind of went over my head. Like something about resonant frequencies and breaking free from the loop. And I was just nodding along, pretending I was listening. But usually, I was mostly thinking about how I could apply some of the concepts to my jump spots in Fortnite. I mean, breaking free from the loop sounds like something that could get me out of the storm faster, right? I kept pointing at random things like a bird or a lamppost and saying they were important. I was just like, okay, bro, whatever floats your boat. And then we finally ended up at this skate park down the street. It was empty at first, which was kind of dope, felt like we had the whole place to ourselves. I was looking around, thinking maybe I could try some sweet grinds with my pickaxe or something, even though I didn't have it with me. And then, laying right there in the middle of the half pipe, was this book. It looked old, like really old. I picked it up, and there was this big, heavy Bible. I was like, whoa, dude, a Bible, what is this doing here? German just kind of shrugged and gave me that look he does, like he knows something I don't, which is basically like all the time, I flipped through it real quick. It had tons of pages. I didn't care to read any of them. But my mind immediately went to using it as this makeshift skateboard, because, why not? Flat and thick. Seems sturdy enough. We're at the skate park, so I set the Bible down on the ground like it was a board. It felt kind of stiff, not going to lie. And also it didn't have wheels, but it didn't matter. It was nothing like my old deck back when I used to skate before Fortnite took over my life. I put one foot on it, and then the other, and dude, it actually rolled. I don't know how, but it did. It was bumpy, like riding over gravel, but it worked. Germ was just watching me, and then suddenly there were other people at the skate park. Like they just spawned in out of nowhere. They were all looking at me. I felt this weird pressure, like I had to do something awesome. I looked at the ramp, and I thought, okay, time to show these guys what's up. I decided right then and there that I was going to try a kickflip on this Bible board. I pushed off, and I got a little speed going towards the ramp. As I hit the incline, I focused. I locked in. I used the same concentration I used when I'm trying to clutch a 1v1 in the final circle. I popped the tail end of the Bible board and flicked my foot. It wasn't perfect, man. But the Bible actually spun in the air. I landed back on it. Wobbly, but on my feet. And I stuck it. An entire kickflip on a Bible. The moment I landed, the whole skate park like erupted. Everyone was cheering and clapping for me. It was insane. Like they were genuinely hyped about me. I felt this rush, like when you get a victory royale after a super tough match. Germa just smiled and gave me a thumbs up. And then I woke up. Pretty wild experience, man.
Well, you have a lot of potential to influence people with a real benefit, Eric, sharing the new you and what have you. So again, just like the skateboard, it's an old idea, but the idea also is that, we all put on, you might say, a performance. Okay, I do that. We create a performance for others. That's where I created a new presentation, and then I do Skypes all over the world. I write the books. I create the images, etc. Ava and I have been doing that for 12 years together, and it's all over the world, etc. So, so what you're doing here is you're deciding, you might say, how you're going to perform. And so the skateboard is an idea of that. Okay, that's not it exactly, but you decide. You go through these little motions. Just like
the Bible's like a New York Times bestseller, and I did a kickflip on it.
Okay. So just like when we were young, we went through a lot of things, and then as we get older, our viewpoint changes. We don't do the same things as we used to, So, because the idea is to refine and have a purpose as to what we're doing, not just do things, but actually have a real purpose. And the real purpose for all of us going through creation is just like the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. In other words, recognizing your real awareness, and you will decide if you do. I mean, this is up to you, how you will approach this and creatively perform with it, you see? So you're given the idea that you're on the skateboard, you did a performance, people applaud. So now you can take that same idea and creatively present the new you in different ways and the real guides for the real universes. And then eventually, as people understand what you're doing, they will applaud because you'll have saved their lives.
Can we do like an applause right now?
So that's the difference between.
I feel like you could applaud for me because I did a kickflip on a Bible.
That you think is important, but really isn't, because it's just creation. But you use creation to reference this reality. That's the part where you learn to see more than just your personal self. In other words, right now you're the gamer. Your whole thing is winning. Okay, so again, that's all about.
I will always be the gamer, man.
Well, that's fine. There you go. You made the statement, I will always be the gamer. That's your choice. And so you could take that in a particular way and reference the real guides and the real universes so that people could get through creation, or you can just keep it that it's all about you. You decide.
The speaker appears to be discussing the idea of expanding one's perspective beyond personal identity and ego. They suggest that one must learn to see beyond their own limited perception and realize that they are not just their personal gamer self. The speaker highlights the choice aspect of this process, acknowledging that an individual can choose to either focus solely on themselves as a gamer or use their experiences and perspective to help others in the real world. The reference to real universes and creation suggests a connection to a larger cosmological or spiritual framework.
Yes, so you decide when you see that all life is more important than you while you're in it. And so again, you make the decision, and that's a big choice, and it takes time to do that. just like when we were young with our parents and we grew up, it took us a while before we were able to be, have our own life and be self-sufficient without our parents. It took a while to do that. It took many, many years. And so the same with this. This is a bigger leap. This is a bigger step to actually recognize what all life is and then have a real purpose with it to where that's your focus and intent. So more so than just what the personal self is doing. Because you see, it won't matter what you accomplish in your personal life because you'll just grow old and eventually you'll forget that you were ever here and you'll start a new life somewhere and you won't even remember you're here. And you've done this many times before. So until you recognize your real awareness and stand real in that and with that, well, then you will just be with your personal self and just be going from body to body in more lifetimes. It's your choice.
It seems that the speaker is discussing the importance of recognizing a larger perspective on life beyond oneself and prioritizing the well-being of all living beings over personal achievements. They explain that this shift in perspective requires time and effort, similar to growing up and becoming self-sufficient. The speaker emphasizes that personal accomplishments are temporary and that individuals will eventually forget their time here and live new lives without remembering their previous experiences. The key, according to the speaker, is to recognize one's true awareness and stand in that truth. They argue that this awareness is more important than just focusing on personal pursuits.
Or do you mean like a digital speaker, a physical speaker? Do you have a speaker playing music or something? What's going on?
In this context, speaker refers to the person sharing the message or information being discussed. It is not referring to a physical loudspeaker or audio device. The speaker could be the person speaking or writing the message.
What?
And so again, yes.
The person was unsure if the speaker being mentioned in the previous message referred to a physical loudspeaker or a person giving a speech. So I clarified that in this context, speaker refers to the person who is sharing the message or information.
Very well said, Andy. Yes, you're getting it. So with that, I will bid you adieu. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
We didn't sing the New You. Hey, Andy, do you want to sing the New You?
Of course, I'll sing the New You then.
Real side king, real side Burger King, real side king, real side Burger King. Rebazar out here grilling, what he making, no faking. He's making a fat patty, sharp-boiled awareness. We looking for that real side Burger King, real side king, real side Burger King. Real side king, real side Burger King. Needless now out here grilling, what he making, no faking. He's making a fat patty, sharp-boiled wellness. We looking for that real side Burger King, real side chain, real side Burger King. Real side chain, real side Burger King. Real side chain, real side Burger chain. Real side chain, real side Burger chain. Real side king, real side Burger King. Real side king, real side Burger King. Real real side chain, real side budgeting, side budgeting, real side chain, real side budgeting. The real side chain, real side butter chain. The fool.